Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing a video review for The Walking Dead trade paperback volume 10, What We Become. So I want to thank you guys for sticking on with me for the trade paperback reviews, comic book series reviews. Absolutely stellar comic book series, the best ever, and just makes sense for me to go through and review them all. I mean, why not do it? I've been reviewing the recent issues as they've been released, but not a bad idea to go back through and, review everything, so that I have pretty much on my channel a review for everything Walking Dead. Of course, it all started with a comic book series, so I have to have that in there. So, Volume 10, What We Become. As you can see from the cover here, we have a picture of Rick covered in blood, sort of reaching out to grab something or someone, and in the comic, or in the trade, we get to see him do absolutely that. So, picking up where we left off from the last one, here we remain. We had Rick and Carl sort of by themselves, away from the group, get reunited with the group, meet these new characters, Abraham, Eugene, Rosita, and then they'd leave sort of towards Washington, D.C. on a pipe dream that Eugene can maybe do something scientifically to cure the virus or stop it, or, do something or research it, find out what it is, get some answers, that kind of stuff. So they head out on that journey. This trade is basically them doing exactly that. Rick dealing with a little bit of guilt that he couldn't protect Lori, has a nightmare in the night, wakes up, goes on duty, they're sleeping in tents, and then we have sort of a confrontation between Rick and Abraham. They basically sort of kind of are both leaders from each group, Rick being the leader of his group, Abraham being leader of his small three-trio group, and sort of just kind of vying for control with, at first, and, kind of almost coming to blows, almost, killing one another, but they end up working it out. Also interesting is this scene here where Glenn is looking for Maggie, and as you can see there in the background, she has attempted to commit suicide. They cut her down. Abraham thinks she's going to turn, and he's going to shoot her, and Glenn says no. Rick says no, wait, and then she ends up actually surviving. Abraham was wrong, and Rick was correct, and she's actually alive, so she's fine. So pretty much that's kind of exciting to see that. Going on from there, you have pretty much Rick almost gets it when he's taking a leak in the forest, but Abraham saves him, although Abraham was not coming out there to watch him. He was actually coming out there probably to try to kill him, and he's sort of battling with himself of whether or not to try to kill Rick or not, and they eventually work it out. As they're on their journey, Rick towards Washington, Rick decides that it'd probably be a good idea for them to take a detour back to his hometown and maybe check up on Morgan. Because Morgan, if you remember from the first trade paperback or in the television show, the first episode was with Dwayne back at his house, his son, and had just shot his wife, and pretty much we have not heard from him since. So in this trade, What We Become, Rick actually goes back to visit him. On the way, he brings Carl with him and Abraham with him. The rest of them wait for them there. And on their way to that spot, they get into some trouble with these triplets. These three kind of, they look like they're kind of like crack addict triplets, as you can see them right there. One pointing a gun at Abraham's head, and essentially they get ganked. They get jumped on a bridge by these three crackhead triplets with knives. Now, the best part of this one is basically where one of the triplets goes to have some fun with Carl, and not in a cool way. Rick basically loses it, and one of the guys has got him in a bear hug, and Rick goes to town and bites him right there. Absolutely bites him right open and rips it at the bottom here. This is awesome. Rips it right out. Oh man, so cool. And then just kind of looks over like that at the other one at the top there, and the other one's like, whoa, what? And then Abraham blows the one away, as you can see right there, pow. Rick basically spits out a part of him, and then goes after the next one. The guy drops his knife and goes to run, and then Rick grabs him and, does whatever he does to him. So, man, what a character change, as we can see in this one, from the character that Rick was originally to now being in this situation where he's actually, like, biting this dude on the neck, like going at it to defend his son, to defend Carl. And him and Abraham, because they're alone with Carl, they have some, like bonding type stuff. They tell each other about their stories. Abraham tells him about what happened to his wife and his daughter, I think, or daughters maybe. And you know, so they sort of get closer that way, and now they don't hate each other anymore. Now they're sort of a team. They're on the same page, and Abraham, I think, is impressed by Rick because he didn't think he'd be able to do something like that. But you know, at this point in the story, I'd love to see that kind of development from. I think out of everything in the story of The Walking Dead, one of the coolest things is seeing Rick's evolution as a character, and this trade illustrates that very well because of what he does in it. And then we get to see Morgan, and here's Morgan after all this time. Here he is with a shovel, once again, noticing that it's Rick, and being like, "Oh, Rick, oh God, I'm sorry." And then we find out that Dwayne has become a walker himself, and that Morgan has kept him just tied up there, you know, and been alone all this time. So Rick basically tells him, you know, come and join us, and you know, come with us, and put him down, put him to sleep, let him rest. And so Morgan walks out like that, and the gun's smoking, but he actually couldn't put his son down. What he actually did instead was just cut shoot the chain. That's it. Put on a show, and then, you know, basically leaves with them. So they go back and they meet up with the group again, and on their way, or actually on their way, they run into our first look at an actual herd in the comic book. Here is the look at the herd here. As you can see, they're driving down, and there are zombies for like a mile. So that is a herd. We've also seen a herd in the television show too, which is very cool. But this is like the first time in the comic series we see a herd. I love some of these shots here, or some of these panels here, where you see at the top there, you've got the car just ramming through tons of zombies. There you've got just zombies everywhere. They're going through them. They're trying to run them over as fast as they can. The car wipes out, and then they end up running. And very exciting. Here's a cool panel here where they're all running away from all the walkers, you know. And Abraham's got Carl on his shoulder, and they're just running, man. Oh man, so cool. Look at this spread right here. This is amazing. Sort of Rick and Abraham there. And they're just being chased by freaking thousands of walkers. I love that. So cool. So they go in a house, they set off this train set, which draws all the walkers in, and then they kind of sneak out the back and meet up with Dale, Andrea, the rest of them, tell them we got to get the F out of here. And that's pretty much this one. Dale, of course, getting angry that he's starting to kind of blame Rick for all these types of things that happen, even though it's not his fault. So, yeah, how I feel about this trade, what we've become, again, it's amazing. I'm going to also give it a 9 out of 10. I know every time I'm saying it's fantastic, it's fantastic. Well, it's the best comic series, you know, in my opinion, ever. So everyone's pretty much fantastic. I mean, I'm not actually sure which one I think would be maybe the worst because they're all so good. I don't know. I'd have to kind of look into that. But definitely this is not the worst one. This is one of the best, too, carrying on after the last one. And this was a trade, too, where I was kind of interested to see. After the prison, you know, and after you have that big climax with the governor and everything that happens with that, is Robert Kirkman going to be able to keep the story interesting, keep it intriguing? Because after that, it's kind of like, you know, did he plan beyond that? You know, does he have anything, or has he lost all the ideas? And as you can see here, he actually has some great ideas. So awesome trade. Absolutely love it. 9 out of 10. That's it for this one. See you in another 3 days, guys, for the next Walking Dead trade paperback review. Later. Peace.